As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. Welcome to Brothers in Arms, brought to you by Catholic Men for Jesus Christ, with your hosts, George Rose and Bill Maher. Stay tuned as George, Bill, and their guests discuss topics relevant to Catholic men living out their faith in today's challenging world. And now, here are the hosts of Brothers in Arms, George Rose and Bill Maher.
Well, good afternoon, my brothers. This is Bill Maher. I'm here with my co-host, George Rose. We are Brothers in Arms.
Billy, I need some sharpening. Iron sharpens iron. Please sharpen me. We got the pandemic blues in the Rose household. Please give me some sharpening.
We will all sharpen you. We will lift George up in prayer, folks, on this June 4th. Sort of a rainy, kind of mucky day. But, man, do we have a nice weekend in store for us, apparently. Looks like it's going to be like, well, nice is all relative, right? If you don't have a swimming pool and you're outside and it's 90 degrees, you're in trouble, I guess.
Yeah,
but
it's going to be that hot.
Yeah, 90s for the next.
Red Sox are in town playing the Yankees too.
Oh, I hope it's hot in that way too.
Let's hope.
Them Yankees, they better start winning.
Let's hope they get hot. Yeah, they're
this is
very
a little bit rough.
Very lukewarm.
Yeah, it's easy not to watch. Dare I say that, George?
Yeah, they've been brutal to watch, actually. So.
Well, we got a lot of exciting things coming up. I mean, as the world opens up, I mean, how liberating is it to walk into the store or a store and not wear a mask? That's just, I was at the gym the other day, and it was funny in the gym. No one was wearing a mask, and it was great. A couple times, I sort of like felt like something was wrong. I was, and I was like, oh, it's the mask. It's the mask. But then I go to North Jersey yesterday or the other day, and I'm in a supermarket, and everyone was wearing masks except me. I sort of felt like I was that guy.
The radical.
Look at that selfish
the revolutionary.
Guy.
Bill
But
Maher.
I had the virus. I had it, I mean, we beat it, So anyway, it's exciting that we could start getting things back to normal a little bit and live our lives.
Feels that way, yeah.
Yeah, and that's, so you got to get them blues off your shoulders. You got to sit in the sun tomorrow, George, and suck up some of those rays.
Get some vitamin D going.
You got it, absolutely. So we got a few exciting things going on. We're going to go over our saint for the month. We have a great guest in Spencer Swope. Guys, you're going to look forward to him. He's certainly a guy's guy as a former boxer and so forth.
Yep.
We'll get into his story a little bit. We have an evening of reflection coming up. Guys, we haven't had one of those forever. And we finally
year and a half, maybe?
At least. So please put that on your date. June 17th, Thursday. Come in. It's at St. William the Abbot. Father Tom's going to lead the reflection. There's going to be a couple of priests there to hear confessions as well. Come at 6 o'clock. We're going to feed you, good old Italian food and lots of it. And we're going to have a great reflection. You have the ability to go to confession if you want. And we're going to finish the night with a mass. So it's sort of a consolidated 3-hour retreat that every one of us needs at this point.
Yeah, we'll have the great Father Tom Maher who gives – he's a guy's guy. He's a man, with his reflections. He's a great – gifted speaker. It's always very edifying to hear Father Tom speak.
I think confession might be part of that a little bit, because I think for a lot of people it's been a while maybe that you've had a confession. Some places really weren't even holding them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
we're gonna have a few priests there, right? Available for confession.
We're working on that, and I got some confirmation, so we're excited about that. But come out, my gosh. I mean, this is literally a chance for us to break bread again for a year.
Yeah.
So let's kind of go in there with a festive party attitude, with at least for the meal part of it, and then we'll get reflective and we'll have a great time in general.
Yeah, we'll shoot out some emails so you get more info on how to register.
Absolutely.
And all that stuff.
If in fact you are not part of our email list, feel free to look up the information at CatholicMenForJesusChrist.org. It should be on there. And if not, just write this down. It's June 17th, Thursday, June 17th, starting at 6 p.m. with a meal. And it's at St. William the Abbot in Howell, New Jersey. So be there, guys. Let's have some fun. Let's have a great experience. Let's get spiritually edified.
There you go. Let's do it.
So we got a saint. Let's kick off with our saint of the month, George. Who do we got?
Billy, our saint of the month, his first name is Luigi. In Italian, Luigi Gonzaga, a.k.a. St. Aloysius Gonzaga.
big for the Diocese of
Yep.
Trenton because one of the biggest parishes in the diocese is St. Aloysius.
St. Al's in
Yeah,
Jackson.
that's right.
Yeah, we've done. I think we've had our mini rallies there. We've done a few
Father
events there.
Banbrook
Yep.
gave a reflection one time there.
Yep. So we've great relationship, very supportive parish of Catholic Men for Jesus Christ. So St. Aloysius, honestly, Billy, I really didn't know anything about him. Figured he was probably Jesuit with Gonzaga, right? I mean, Gonzaga University and that he must have something to do with that. But he was born March 9th, 1568. So right in the middle of Renaissance Italy, the Enlightenment, right? He died June 21st, 1591 at the age of 23.
Young.
Very young.
Very young.
His feast day is June 21st, and he was beatified just 14 years after his death in October of 1605 by Pope Paul V. He was canonized much later, about 120 years later, by Pope Benedict XIII in December of 1726. So, but to be beatified so quickly, he must have been a very special,
Indeed.
Special priest,
tell
special
us,
man.
Tell us why.
So, he was the oldest of 7 children. He was born into one of the most powerful families in Renaissance Italy. His father was the Marquis of Castiglione, and his mother was a lady in waiting to the wife of Philip II of Spain.
Wow.
So, talk about like politically connected and powerful.
A
And
big way.
yeah,
Big way.
yeah. And he was the firstborn son, so he was in line to inherit his father's title and the status of Marquis. I mean, he was all lined up for him, right?
Yeah. The decision to become a priest in those scenarios usually is not received well by the father.
And it wasn't. His father assumed that Aloysius would become a soldier because there was lots of little wars and things going on
Sure,
at that time.
sure.
So, and that was the norm for the sons of the aristocracy. And as early as the age of 4, Luigi was given a set of miniature guns and accompanied his father on training expeditions so that he might learn the art of arms.
Pike and shot era. You're dealing with those explosive firearms.
Yeah, and very young, at the age of 5, he was sent to a military camp for training, and his father, loved all this. And there was a lot of violence and brutality in Renaissance Italy. So he was witnessing that firsthand and expected to be a part of it. So in 1576, at the age of 8, he was sent to Florence with his brother. Excuse me, I got a frog caught in my throat. He was sent to Florence with his brother Rodolfo to serve at the court of Grand Duke Francesco I de' Medici and receive further education.
Huge family in Renaissance Italy.
Right?
The Medici's huge family.
Yeah, they're like, and I don't know, who would you compare them to? Like,
not even the Trumps would be small compared to them. The Bushes would be small compared to them.
Yeah. I mean, they were multi-generational, very politically powerful family, the Medicis. But Luigi was cut from a different cloth. He was sent to this court of the Grand Duke, but he was disgusted by what he saw there. He was really revolted.
He was pious,
by it.
a pious young
He was
lad.
a pious young lad, and he vowed at the age of 10 never to offend God by sinning because he was so disgusted by what he saw. So it was around this time that he adopted these severe religious practices. He started fasting 3 times a week. He would rise at midnight to pray on the stone floor in his room. He refused to let a fire be lit in his bedchamber, even in the bitterest, coldest weather. And he was really famously concerned for keeping his chastity and safeguarding his modesty. Butler's Lives of the Saints notes that from as early as age 9, Luigi maintained custody of the eyes. So he was a very pious young man and striving for holiness, even at a really young age. And that doesn't happen very often. Right?
No, it certainly does not. But tell us about some of the miracles and interesting stories.
Not really any, conspicuous miracles. Just his life is kind of miraculous in and of itself. But
growing up in that family at that time and to make a declaration at 10, that certainly is
Yeah.
pretty miraculous.
Yeah,
in that sense.
and when he was young, after this time with the Medicis, he was sent to live with some relatives, and apparently he discovered a chapel there, a beautiful chapel on the relatives' grounds or their property, and he did a lot of reading of Butler's Lives of the Saints, and that's what he did, and he meditated on the Psalms in the chapel. That's where he spent most of his time because he didn't want to be out in what was going on in the rest of the place, So that's where his little sanctuary, how he protected himself. He returned to Castiglione in 1580. So he was, maybe 12 at this point, and he met Cardinal Charles Borromeo. Yep, who was very impressed by his seriousness and learning. And St. Charles realized that Luigi had not yet received his first communion, and he prepared him for it. So you have one saint giving another saint his first Holy Communion, which is kind of cool, right?
Quite a few number of our priests have gone through the seminary, St. Charles Borromeo.
Very famous seminary in Philly, right?
We're just outside of Philly, right there in the main line.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
So in 1585, at the age of 17, he gave up his inheritance, and that had to be, I think the ruler at the time, the king, had to approve that. They did. His father wasn't happy at all, but he was then accepted into this Society of Jesus in Rome, the Jesuits. His family wanted to become like a normal priest, but he was like, no, I want to become a Jesuit.
No, radical. He wanted to be radical.
Yeah, because sometimes the priests at that time, like a normal priest, there was no vow
very tied to the politics of
probably not a vow of poverty, and he would get a bishopric and lots of wealth and notoriety and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there was a lot of corruptions, but local corruptions. This is part of the reason the Reformation occurred.
Yep.
And then of course the Counter-Reformation in the church. So, you could see why he would want to sort of seek refuge away from the local parishes.
His instincts were good. He followed the Holy Spirit, and he found the novitiate in the Jesuits to actually be somewhat easy after these ascetic practices that he had. He had to turn it down a little bit. His superiors said, "Well, this is what we want you to do," and he was obedient, and he did. And he was considered an ideal novitiate. I mean, a model seminarian. And the event that happened then in 1591 that eventually took his life was a plague broke out in Rome, right? And the Jesuits had a hospital for the ill people, and Aloysius volunteered to work there, and he would beg alms for the victims. He began working with the sick. He carried the dying people from the streets into this hospital founded by the Jesuits. And when he was there, he washed and fed the plague victims, prepared them as best he could to receive the sacraments. And he threw himself into his task, but he privately confessed to his spiritual director, another name you'll recognize, Father Robert Bellarmine.
Bellarmine, another great parish in the Diocese of Trenton.
Not too far away from St. Aloysius,
right,
St. Al's, right? Is it the same city? Where is
Freehold.
Freehold,
Freehold,
yeah, neighboring towns almost. But he told Father Robert Bellarmine that he was revolted by the sights and smells of the work. And he had to work really hard to overcome his physical revulsion at it, but he did it anyway because he knew that the people needed help, and it's what God wanted him to do. So, make a long story short, he eventually cared for a patient who had the plague. He got the plague, and he died on June 21st, 1591. Within the first year of the plague, and at the age of 23.
There's a couple pearls that I can glean out of his life. The concept of taking custody of your eyes. I mean, that shines pretty bright in our world, right? I mean, the idea. I mean, all the distractions we have. Taking that personal responsibility.
Yeah,
we can certainly glean a lot from that, and then just the idea of service. Literally serving the poor, especially nowadays. Every era needs service. Don't get me wrong, but there's so much anxiety and depression and suffering. Yet we're such an affluent society. We have everything.
Yeah,
I often think about Fulton Sheen's response to when you're down and out. Go help someone. Go do service, and you certainly find yourself within that service, and that's certainly he ultimately found his ticket to heaven in a sense through service, right? Contracting the plague himself and having a short life, but certainly he lived a saintly life, as short as it was.
Yeah, it's interesting, Bill, because the one thing we really miss in our American society these days is that spirit of self-sacrifice.
Yeah.
Right? We don't really have that.
Personal responsibility with custody of his eyes, right? And then
Yep.
self-sacrifice.
And self-sacrifice, yeah. Which, custody of the eyes is also sacrificial.
100%.
Hard to do, right?
100%.
But, it's not a concept that most people are even familiar with.
or certainly embrace, right? It's tough.
Yeah,
It's tough.
yeah.
But anyway, so what a great saint, a relevant saint for this part of the world here in Central Jersey. Actually, you could even argue a few saints: Borromeo, Bellarmine, and Aloysius.
All within a short
All within
drive of each other. Yep.
They all are. So what a wonderful way to kick off June. So guys, we're gonna take a 2-minute break and we'll be back. But we ask Saint Aloysius to pray for us as we make our treks home. See you in 2.
What have you done for your marriage today?
Today, I used the towel that was already damp after my shower so that he would have the dry one.
I called my wife on the phone and I told her, Sue, I love you. And I meant it.
I went from the lobby of my hotel back to our hotel room 5 times to pick up the video camera.
I took time out at lunch to make sure that we had an opportunity to spend time together.
Then to go back and pick up the battery.
What have I done for my marriage today?
Today?
What do we do?
It's what did you do?
What did I do? I shopped. Then to go back and pick up our handbag.
What have I done for my marriage today? I flirted with my husband like when we first got married.
I made the bed for my wife because she usually does, and I even put the pillows in the right place.
Then to go back and look for something she'd forgotten that wasn't in the room either. And I did it with a smile.
What have you done for your marriage today? Try something new to make yours great. For ideas, go to foryourmarriage.org, a message from the Catholic Church.
60 Seconds with Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen.
Now, in order to understand the knowledge of God, you must make a distinction between foreknowledge and predetermination. The two are not identical. God, indeed, does foreknow everything, but he does not predetermine us independently of our will and our merits. Just suppose that you knew the stock market very well, and because of your superior knowledge of business conditions, you said that such and such a stock within 6 months would be selling 10 points higher than it is now. Suppose 6 months later it actually sold 10 points higher. Would you have predetermined and caused it to be 10 points higher? Although you foreknew it. There were other influences, were there not, besides your superior knowledge?
The people you know and trust are on EWTN.
Well, welcome back, my brothers. This is Bill Maher. I'm here with my co-host, George Rose. We are brothers in arms on this sunny, well, soon to be sunny, June 5th, even though today's June 4th, which is kind of cloudy. So I had to clean that up. So June 5th will be sunny.
Good recovery, Bill.
But June 4th is a little cloudy and mucky, a little rainy here and there as we track our way homes and get ready for the weekend. But anyway,
Bill, you're not restricted by time and space, are you?
I'm trying to live in the present. I can't control the past, and I don't know what the future is going to be. So I'm trying to live in the present. But that said, we talked about that very pious, humble Saint Aloysius as our saint for the month. His feast is what, the 21st of June?
June 21st. Yeah.
So Saint Aloysius, pray for us. We're going to talk a little bit about the news. You have anything? In the news you wanted to bring up to kick us off with?
Yeah, I got something, Billy, and this was in the Register about a new Gregorian chants app, live Gregorian chants available in an app. So there's a YouTube channel called OP Chant, which has been very successful, and is a Gregorian chant channel. And now the chant is becoming the subject of the largest recording project ever undertaken. So Neums.com, Neumz.com, Neums.com was first launched as a web platform and then as a smartphone app. And it's offering in streaming the complete Gregorian repertoire.
What's the app? Like if I'm on the App Store right now. And
I would just type in Neums, Neumz.
And I did it. Here
Does
it is.
pop up?
Here
All
it is.
right,
Here
good.
it is.
So
Noons,
it covers
Gregorian chant.
it covers the entire 3-year liturgy of the Novus Ordo, and it's an unbelievable project. It's running from 2019 to 2022, and the Benedictine nuns of the Abbey of Notre Dame de Jougs, I guess is how you. My French isn't so good anymore, even though I took a year of it in college. So it's in the French region of Provence. But they opened their doors to an American record label called Odradek Records, whose team suspended 8 low-profile microphones around the Abbey's church to collect their daily chants during Mass and the Liturgy of the Hours.
Okay.
So you have cloistered nuns in a monastery being recorded for 3 straight years in stereo, and then that is available to you on a streaming app. All the chants.
I just downloaded it. I now have the Noons app, folks, and I guess the way to use it, there's a drop-down menu you hit, and you got. Well, I guess you got a lot of options here. Let me see. Okay, all right.
And Billy,
I got to figure it out, but I got it.
It's free. There's 7,000 plus hours total, and they're uploaded on the app's database on an ongoing basis. And they also have the sheet music, the square note scores, the original Latin text, and that kind of stuff. And there's translations and the user's language, and it's free. But then there's premium features too.
Here it is, right here. Look at you got the.
There you go.
And I can hit play. And right now I'm going to totally do something I probably should never do in radio. I am playing the app
Check
right
you
now.
out.
Look at this technology, folks. And I can read the music. I got it right here. It's actually moving with the chant.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow. Yeah. How cool is that? So you guys got to download. If I can do it, my gosh, you guys can.
So, yeah, and there's some premium features such as downloading and researching pieces, but you have to subscribe for that. I don't know how much it is to subscribe, but 2/3 of the subscription fees are allocated to the 45 nuns of Jougs and the function of their monastery in Benin. So it's a really cool project. It's amazing. One of the Odradek's founder, John Anderson, his aunt is one of the nuns in the convent there.
How
so
cool!
That's
How
it all
cool
came
is
about.
that? Gregorian chant is so neat. You get a good Gregorian, you can really get very prayerful very quickly.
Yeah, stream it in the car as you're driving on a long drive, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, better than listening to like whatever it is, whether you're a Fox News or a CNN person,
Well, at this point, yeah,
just
the
put
news
on the
is-
Gregorian chant.
And I'll tell you this: when you get home, if you are one that can partake in a beer, if that's appropriate to say, I have a story for you, George.
A Belgian beer,
I
perhaps?
do indeed. I do indeed. Now, I am a fan of the Belgian Abbey beers. There's sort of 6 famous ones, at the different monastery sites. Everyone's heard of Chimay, right?
Are those the beers that are like 12% alcohol, Billy?
Some of them are.
Yeah.
Like I think of my favorite
It's
beer.
like 3 for the price of 1.
Well, not all of them. Like, for example, my favorite beer is one of those monastery beers. It's called Rochefort. And
I've heard of that.
One of the top
Isn't
beers
that
in the
a
world.
cheese, too?
I'm
Rochefort
sure,
cheese?
I'm sure.
Probably made in the
in
same
fact, I think they
monastery.
make cheese in that monastery
Yeah.
also. But Rochefort beer, they come in different sizes, 6, 8, and 10. That's not sizes, that's alcohol content.
Ah.
So there's to answer
There
your
you
question.
go.
I think it's like 6, 8, and 11%, or 6, 9, and 11% alcohol, depending on which one you have. Delicious beers. You don't chug these beers. You savor them. You have these goblets you drink out of them. You smell them. This rich malty flavor. They're not hoppy. Hops is in beer was sort of invented to preserve it. So those IPAs, as an example, Indian Pale Ales. Well, they're called Indian Pale Ales because they put a lot of hops in them, so they
Right.
can make it from England to India. So the Belgian beers are not like that. They tend to be a little sweeter. They're really delicious. I love the Rochefort's one of the monasteries. There's Orval, there's West Mall, there's Akel, and then there's West Vleteren, Chimay I mentioned. West Vleteren, you can't even buy their beer unless you're in Belgium. It's
Right.
usually the number 1 beer in the world.
Yeah.
And Rochefort's like usually number 2 or in there. But you can get Rochefort at most liquor stores. But again, it's like a wine almost in some ways.
And one of the abbeys there is
coming back,
restarting their beer making
after
activities.
200 years. The French Revolution, as they were cutting heads off, they cut the tap.
That's when they
at
had
this
to stop
monastery.
making beer. Really,
They stopped
Wow.
making it. It's a monastery in Grimbergen. It's the Norbertine Monastery in Grimbergen, and after 200 years, they're going to start brewing ale again. So this is something that's on my wish list. I want to get the Norbertine Monastery beer. That's
wow.
I'm gonna definitely try. In fact, just the other night, actually, I have a picture on my phone, George. For everyone on this listening to this program, this is going to mean nothing to you, but I'm showing George Rose a picture of a Rochefort beer I had at Monk's Tavern in Philadelphia a few nights ago.
Looks like a Guinness almost. Very
Yes.
dark. Yeah.
But it's not very
Not
hoppy or
thick.
heavy.
Yeah.
Beautiful, right? For the cameras there. Beautiful stuff. Here's the bottle.
Oh, very
Good
cool.
stuff. So
Very
that's
cool.
a Rover at
Where
6.
where do you
Rover at 6.
get these Belgian beers, Billy? If somebody wanted to try them, can't you just go to?
Believe it or not, a lot of liquor stores do have the
carry them?
Belgian. They do. I know Wegmans has it. But again, these are not. I'm not a volume beer drinker. That was
You're a
my
connoisseur.
unfortunate days when I was younger. But now I like to enjoy a beer too. And these are just so perfect for that. They're a little expensive. Like for example, a Rochefort. That's like probably $6 a bottle.
Yeah, 2 or 3 for the price of one, though, right?
That's sort of depending on what number.
That's what you're looking for.
But bottom line is, it's nice. It's sort of a feel good story. The motto for the monastery is "burned but not destroyed." And they're going to have I think maybe a phoenix rising up as part of their leg. Of course, there'll be
cool.
crosses and all that stuff there.
Wow.
But kind of a feel good story, And
that's great.
We're entering the summer barbecue season, right? And nothing wrong with popping a little beer, right? What do you think, Mr. Producer, smiling back there?
Yeah, you can grill up your plant-based burgers and drink your Belgian beer at the same time. Beyond burgers and Belgian beer.
Yes,
Lots of bees.
and just as a second story, and brief story, we have June is an important month for us. It's the month of the Sacred Heart devotion.
Oh, explain what that is, Billy.
Well, the Sacred Heart of Jesus, we meditate on this great mystery. You probably have seen the image of the Sacred Heart.
St. Margaret Mary.
St. Margaret Mary, yeah, exactly. And June happens to be the month of that particular devotion. So, I recommend if this is something you've never, done before, Pray More Novenas actually has these novenas for these special dates. They're running one right now, running it like a special, right? But they announce to you when certain novenas are coming up, which is kind of cool. And right now I'm on day 3 of, I think it's day 3 of the Sacred Heart novena myself. But anyone can start a novena anytime they want.
Yeah.
But very powerful, very powerful novena. And certainly, as June being the month of the Sacred Heart novena, certainly a lot of spiritual efficacy can come from that as well. God recognizes Peter, right? What you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. So when the church makes a declaration, it has weight, heaven responds. So, I challenge everyone, if you're interested, pray that novena this month. There's so many causes we have that we need help with in this world. And if you're not familiar with it, do some research on the Sacred Heart.
Yeah, Pray More Novenas is a great app or website, right? It's a married couple, I believe.
Yeah,
John and Anne Marie. I can't remember their last name, but
you're right.
I get their emails all the time in my inbox, and most of the time I don't follow through on them. But
well, I will say it's sort of like our little reflections that we forward out. When you get it in your email, it's a great trigger.
Yeah.
I find that, sometimes, I'll just follow along and pray novena for whatever cause, just because it's there. It's like, what a great service.
Yeah, sure is.
And this is technology gone right, just like the app.
Yeah.
There's so many cool things that you can do. So Sacred Heart in June, guys. Take a look, take a relook if you haven't in a while, and let's sort of win this world back.
Yeah, it's technology can be a great thing, Billy. I've been doing the Father Mike Schmidt's Bible in a year. I started late, right?
Okay.
It started January 1. I'm like 33 or 34 days into it. It's really good.
Wow.
I would check it out. Yeah, it's really good. It's like 15, 20 minutes a day. And Jez Ford turned me on to it, our good friend Jez.
Yes.
And it's
he's sort of our fill-in. He's become like the fill-in host, hasn't he?
Yes.
You know, but he sounds so good with the British accent.
He's your alter ego.
The British. I'm not doing his accent well. He's Manchester accent, but he's got a British accent.
Yeah. But if you can, it's something you could start at any time, right? And I mean, it's on Stitcher. It was actually, it was the #1 downloaded app in Apple for the first few months of this year.
Was it
number
really?
one worldwide.
Wow.
Most downloaded app.
Wow. How
incredible.
That
And
is
I think
incredible.
as time's gone on, it's, petered off a bit, but it's been downloaded, millions and millions of times, I believe, at this point. A lot of people, just shows you the hunger out there and the thirst, and people are finding it.
Speaking of thirst, looking at my Trappist monastery.
There you
that
go.
Picture I took the other day. Sorry. I digress.
But it's a really good one. There's lots of different
the pulls of the flesh.
There's lots of different apps you can do to download that. So I highly recommend it. I think I talked about it a month or two ago, but keep talking about it because it's really good.
That's awesome. I was going to get into. I don't think we really have time. We really want to have a good interview with our guest, who definitely deserves our time. But I'm going to recommend you go to. I guess where did I get this from? I got this from Catholic News Agency. No, actually, I got this from the National Catholic Register online. It's the Miracle of Vistula, when Our Lady saved the world from communism, and in a really brief synopsis, it's where the 100,000 Soviet troops in 1920 in May punched into Poland to take it over, and the world was like, oh my gosh, they're going to do it. There's nothing we had to do. The Pope called the world to prayer, and by the 15th, there was, which is the Feast of the Assumption, the progression into Poland pretty much stopped. And there was all sorts of sort of subtle miracles and so forth attributed to Our Lady of Czestochowa. And basically, communism was completely pushed back and routed. Great article. It's called The Miracle of Vistula, When Our Lady Saved the World from Communism.
Stop the Bolsheviks.
I recommend the read, because we have to stop a lot of stuff. And this is,
let's get some supernatural help, right?
Let's
Billy?
model it on prayer, right? So
Yeah.
the Pope called the world for prayer. Once that happened, things changed. It reminds me of Lepanto a little bit, where the Pope called the world to prayer. In this case, it was the Rosary. But anyway, guys, we're gonna go to a 2-minute break and come back with our interviewee.
It started like it does for many people, question my faith and question authority. And I feel that the reason why I left was the draw of the world. The world was pulling me away. Some people would say, Satan was working on me. He did not want me in church. He wanted me to be desperate. He wanted me to have the thoughts of suicide. I started to realize that a lot of the things that I had experienced in my life were a result of my rebellion against God and against authority. Coming back to the church is the first step in healing from all of the hurts of the world. I went from being desperate and in despair to finding hope and encouragement for the future. I'm on God's team. I know who I belong to, and I know where I'm going, and there's nothing that can separate me from God's love.
Take another look at the Catholic Church. Visit CatholicsComeHome.org today.
Father Benedict Groeschel.
There are legitimate differences of opinion in any religion. There are differences of opinion in Catholicism. But in Catholicism, you expect that people will take the teaching of its supreme authority seriously. To go diametrically opposed to those teachings is to not be a Catholic. Someone in the name of Catholicism is sponsoring the destruction of human life, lives of unborn children. And they got the name Catholic on the door. The highest authority in Catholicism and the encyclical Humanae Vitae, Evangelium Vitae, is absolutely clear that no Catholic can support abortion and that Catholics are responsible to take serious action against legalized abortion.
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN radio.
Well, welcome back, my brothers. This is Bill Maher, politically incorrect, truly politically incorrect Bill Maher, and I'm here with my co-host,
the conservative
George
Bill
Rose.
Maher.
Yes, indeed. And we're actually joined on this call with our guest, Spencer Swope. I hope I got that right, Spencer.
You sure did. I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, what a pleasure it is. Again, my name is Bill Maher, and you got a pretty cool story that we can share with the guys. We're going to be excited to kind of break that out, flesh that out for everyone if you're good with it.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. Yeah. And hey, Spencer, this is George. Thanks for
Hi, George.
Thanks for coming on the show today. And just to give the guys a little background on who you are and why we're having you on the show, or it is we were introduced by Trent Beatty, our good friend of the show, who writes for the National Catholic Register, and he did an article on you last fall. And he reached out to me and said, "Hey, you guys should think about interviewing Spencer Swope." And I read the article and I was like, "Yeah, most definitely." So, again, thanks for being here today. And right now, your background, I think we'll talk about that a little bit. But you were a boxer, a football player, a boxer, insurance salesman, very talented guy from what I've read. And currently, you're the Southern Regional Marketing Manager for EWTN.
That is correct.
Right?
That's
and
correct.
You have 11 children?
Yes.
11?
Yes, I do. Sometimes I think I overloaded the wagon, but one day at a time with God's grace, we get through.
Billy here, he has 8 children, and it's a very rare occurrence that one of our guests has more kids than he does.
Yeah,
quite true, I'm sure.
Spence, I usually call them slackers, but I guess that's me at this point.
Why don't we ask about your conversion, Spencer? Like, what happened? I think you worked hard and you partied hard. I think back in the day.
Yes, I think that's a good definition. I'll just give you a little bit of background.
Sure.
I was born baby of 5 children in northern Ohio. Good Catholic people, but we didn't live our Catholic faith that intentionally. We were pretty much nominal Catholics. We went to Mass every Sunday. Holy Day is an obligation. But really, we didn't, we weren't the kind of family that prayed the rosary. We really didn't, said prayer before meals, and that was about it. And dramatic occurrence happened in our lives when on Good Friday in 1973, I was 10 years old. My brothers were killed in a car accident.
Mm.
And that really changed the course of our lives, obviously. And I think it sparked in my older brother some just all of a sudden, he was the oldest, and his behavior got pretty crazy, if you will. He was no longer a good student or anything, and he was quite the athlete, and probably could have been playing professional football if he had not he didn't do anything academically, and but I kind of followed in his footsteps in a sense. He was, I looked up to him, and that kind of sent me down the wrong path myself. I did play. I was interested in boxing. I don't even understand why. At 7 years old, I watched the fight between the first fight I ever watched between Smokin' Joe Frazier and Jimmy Ellis for the heavyweight title.
Wow!
And I remember it just like yesterday, February 16th, 1970, and I just fell in love with the sport. So I was always interested in boxing. There weren't too many opportunities to box as an amateur where I was, but I did get some fights in. And but I also loved football, and I was quarterback, and I played quarterback from 7th grade up, and was high school quarterback, and it was pretty good. But I did party a lot, and was not my top priority. And I was injured a lot, although I did break some passing records at that school. But colleges didn't take me serious enough to give me a scholarship, and I did go to college, but I went to a college with my girlfriend's dad that kind of suggested he was a doctor, and anyhow, I ended up at Wofford College in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and they didn't have a pro style offense. That's what I ran. They ran a veer offense back then, so they called it an option.
The Tennessee offense, right?
Yeah, and just it wasn't suited for me. So anyhow, but I just partied so hard, and I ended up basically flunking out my freshman year. Went to another school up in Brevard, North Carolina. Did much better. I just had kind of an epiphany. What am I going to do with my life? I hadn't picked up a book probably since 8th grade, but I really had to teach myself how to learn. I didn't know how to study. I had no study habits, but I turned myself around, and to get academically, went from like a 0.8 to a 3.8, in just a year. But then I ended up moving back down to Florida and started going back into more party ways. And but at the age of 22, I got into the insurance business, not because I liked it, because I liked the money it was going to present me, and did well. At the age of 24, I was running an insurance agency. I had 6 agents and a secretary under my supervision, and the success went to my head. Started partying harder and got involved in cocaine. And suffice to say, about 3 years later, everything went spiraling out of control. And I ended up basically homeless in North Carolina, living with my parents. And God's providence, somebody quit at their restaurant they had, and I decided to kind of help them out. A couple days later, somebody quit, or a couple days later I helped them out and decided to stick around for a little while. Well, that was kind of God's way of getting me back on my feet. And by going there, I was going to Mass on Sunday, unworthily receiving our Lord and Blessed Sacrament because I didn't really understand what the Catholic Church taught. But it was still a start. And then that's when I really turned to boxing. I thought, well, I've screwed up my life. I was 27 years old at this time. I thought, what the heck? I'm going to just put everything I am into boxing. So I did, and the hard work it took to do the training and everything I always felt was analogous to, in retrospect, analogous to what it takes to be a good Catholic, as far as we got to put in the work sometimes. We'd get up and get to Mass, do a rosary, Chapel of Mercy, these kind of things, in order to keep our faith alive and going. And it was the same thing with, getting up to the boxing, getting to do the road work, the exercise, everything. It had to be the mental discipline, everything was needed there. But I still wasn't really living my Catholic faith at all. Well, I was on and off, and I'd go through bouts of, drunkenness and that sort of thing. But I wasn't on drugs or anything anymore because I really didn't have the connections that I did in Florida. So suffice to say, I was up and down, and about 5 years after being in North Carolina, I ended up drinking too much on Holy Saturday, where I couldn't even get out of bed on Easter Sunday morning. I was just too hungover. I can remember trying to get out of bed and I stood up and just was teetering, and I think I had to go to the bathroom to do what, and the next Sunday, that disgusted me. That was 32 years old at this time, and I just the next following Sunday, not knowing it was Divine Mercy Sunday, I just did a reexamination of my life and saw how bad I had screwed it up, and I just simply told Jesus in my heart, Jesus, from this day forward, I live for you. And my life turned around quickly. And really quickly. And thanks be to God, there was a good Catholic couple that started putting Catholic tapes and books in my hands. Scott Hahn, Jeff Cavins, these kind of things, and just made a dramatic turn in my life. And then I almost left the Catholic faith for another denomination, but there was a voice in my head that said, "Don't leave what you don't know." And that's when the Catholic couple appeared and started giving me all these good things that really got me on the faith to live in, the Catholic life. So,
wow.
That's and ever since then, he's just blessed me. And then I met my wife up in Northern Virginia, and it's been one blessing after the other.
Wow, that's
awesome.
That's quite a story, Spencer. And I've been sober myself since 1995. So you and I have something in common. I think we're a couple years apart, maybe in age. I'm 55. I think you're, 57?
58 now, yeah.
58, okay. So, yeah, but we have a lot of similarities in
Definitely.
our
95
stories.
was a good year for us, huh?
Yeah, it was. And similar, what really got to me was in my 20s, I realized there were times I would come back home for Christmas and go out with all the old friends on Christmas Eve, after did dinner with the family and hung out and all that stuff. And I remember this one year I couldn't get up for Mass on Christmas morning. I'm like, even the bad Catholics go to Mass on Christmas. And I couldn't even do that, and I was like, wow, something's really wrong. I kept drinking for a few more years after that, but it was definitely something that caught my attention.
That was certainly a wake-up call, inflection moment, huh?
Yeah, well, it was, one of many seeds that were being planted for me, but God was looking after both of us and guiding us and directing us. So it's great. And now, you have really your life, such a dramatic change from boxing, and kind of sounds like, in the business world, being about more about you than anything else, right? As an insurance salesman,
that's
and getting
exactly right. Yeah, and I can just remember when I played football. I'm the quarterback, but I just we weren't very good my senior year of the team, and I was just in it for personal glory. To be honest, I mean, I just was, I wanted my numbers, and I would, I'd throw the ball close to 45 times a game on average, and but I was just looking out for myself because our defense couldn't stop anybody, so I had to put some points on the board. But
yeah.
And it was just for personal glorification.
Yeah. Wow. So, after this, I think you had your conversion on what was not yet Divine Mercy Sunday, right? The Sunday after Easter. Sister Faustina was already looking out for you, but after that, you went to work at for Seton Home Study, which is the homeschooling organization. You also worked for the Knights of Columbus, and then eventually made your way to EWTN, of which Domestic Church Media, our radio station here, is a local affiliate for EWTN Radio. So, how's that? And I'm really interested in it because those jobs that you have don't sound like. I mean, they're not volunteer jobs, but I'm sure they're not maybe not as high paying as you were doing in the insurance industry, but in the
I can remember going to work for Seton. I cut my salary in half just to go to work up there for them. I was just so enamored with the Catholic faith, and I went up there I was actually engaged to another young lady who's not my wife now, that was going to Christian college. That's what brought us up there.
Bill Carroll, right?
I grew up there, and just fell in love with what was up there and everything. And I thought, I want to be part of this. I want to be part of that community. And so that's how I got out of the insurance, because I went back to the insurance business after my conversion. After I to get out of, I was left the restaurant with my parents where I was managing that, but left that, and just went up there and fell in love with it. So I just wanted to go up there. I'd take any job, so I just was working like half a day, doing maintenance, another half, I think shipping, but they put me in the admissions department only after about a month there. So it was a nice position, and I really got to talk to homeschooling moms wanting to discern whether or not they to bring their children home and everything, and I really enjoyed working there. And it was I learned a lot from working there about homeschooling and everything, and I knew that was kind of the direction I wanted to go if I ever got married. But the young lady that I went up there with, we both started discerning maybe we were called to the religious life. We broke off our engagement very amicably. It was, a peaceful thing. And then discerned that I wasn't. We're both married now, and then I met my wife-to-be.
That's a great story. The Seton Home School is, you were ahead of your time. It seems like everyone is hunting for good homeschool curriculums now. My kids were homeschooled, and we did use Seton for a good portion of that. But it's amazing now. That was missionary work back then when you were involved with them.
Yes, without a doubt. Without a doubt, definitely a missionary and ahead of our time, like you said. But I think we kind of understood what might be coming, and I pray that this crazy world we're living in, that we can continue to educate our children from home.
So what brought you to EWTN?
Well, after Seton, I went to work for the Knights of Columbus, and pretty much I thought I would have an opportunity to make a little bit more money there and everything, but it just didn't work. It wasn't working out. We didn't have the product at the time. So Knights of Columbus, awesome. I mean, they have wonderful insurance products and everything, especially now. But at the time, they didn't have a certain product, a term policy that was really competitive in the market, and that really made it difficult. And just wasn't a great fit for me. And it's another providential story, but providentially, I ended up with EWTN, and I came to work here in October of 2000. So I've been there for over 20 years now.
Wow.
And at the time, we had one child and one on the way, and now we have 11 children, 2 actually in heaven with 2 miscarriages as well. So, it's been a wild, wonderful ride for sure.
2 kids in heaven. So So these 20 years at EWTN, you've been blessed with 11 children. I'm assuming it sounds like you didn't start having your first one until you were in your later 30s, I guess, right?
That's correct. I was 36 when we had our first. Yep.
When you had number one. Wow, that's
And
amazing.
I have a 2-year-old now, so and it's probably been the most difficult thing I've ever had to deal with in my life. I think after having 2 miscarriages, which would have been 11 and 12 children, I think I just mentally I thought we were done and everything. So at 55, I was surprised, and it's been difficult, but I wouldn't change a thing. He's actually named after me, Spencer Swope.
Wow,
That's neat.
I'm assuming your wife is a little bit younger than you. She's not.
Just
She
a
didn't
little
have
bit.
a 2-year-old at 55, right?
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
They definitely. It's funny. What was your thought in your mind when you thought about having kids? Was there a dream number? Because I can guarantee it wasn't 11. I certainly wasn't for us. We talked about 2 kids. We'd have 2 kids, and somehow that turned into 8, and would not have it any other way.
Yes.
What's your story with that?
Yeah, Bill. My wife and I are both baby of 5. So the youngest of 5 children. We wanted a large family. We were in a community we saw many families with 10 children. But you're right. We weren't like thinking 10. We were just wanted to be open to life, and we were excited about that. And boy, I don't know. I knew that my wife's family tended to be fertile by the number of children her sisters had, her older sisters, and so I knew it was possible. But we just fell in love with just life, and although those early years were certainly difficult, more so for my wife than myself, but we didn't plan on 11, but I think we were thinking 7 or 8, maybe something like that.
Well, just one more, Spencer, and you'll match Jacob from the Old Testament, the 12 tribes of Israel, right? The 12 sons.
God's will shall be done.
Yeah, hey, Abraham was way older, Abraham and Sarah, when they had Isaac, right?
This is definitely true. I will tell you, you have a very active household, and that's one of the things I love about mine.
We do. We're in a changing. I mean, my 2 oldest daughters are going to Christendom College, also up in Northern Virginia, and my oldest son is in the Marines. He's out at Camp Pendleton in Southern California right now. So, some have left the nest, and so we have 8 here permanently, but the girls are back home for college now. So
that's a great
it's
college.
Crazy, one day at a time. A lot of organizing, trying to figure out who's going to take this car for this event, and everything. But it's crazy but wonderful.
Yeah, Christendom. That's a great college. That's William Carroll, right? So
yes, that's exactly right.
He has a great series and history on the church that I recommend everyone look into.
Amen. I do too.
Hey, Spencer, we only have about a minute left. Maybe you could tell us real quick what you actually do for EWTN, so the guys could know. I'm sure you market the station, right? And what does that mean? How do you do it?
Yeah, well, let me just have the job has evolved. I started in this position 2004. I originally was just doing marketing support, which actually supported the position I'm doing now. But it used to be just trying to get EWTN onto the channel lineups of the cable system.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now we're pretty much saturated there in those places in the cable market and on satellite TV. But now our motto is EWTN is everywhere, so we're on all these other platforms as well. So now it's kind of shifted more. We still, work with the cable companies, but we're going to Catholic conferences in the region, visiting dioceses, trying to improve the relationships with those folks, showing the different resources we have, work with our radio affiliates like you're a part of there, and thank you for being a radio affiliate of ours. Trying to build up our volunteer program to bring greater awareness of EWTN. It's amazing how many Catholics still are not even aware of us. We're in our 40th year. The pandemic helped with that. For us, actually, the pandemic was somewhat of a blessing, a hidden blessing, because so many Catholics that did not know about us prior tuned in and became loyal viewers and supporters. So.
Hey, that's Spencer. That's great to hear all that. Unfortunately, we are out of time. But
out of time.
We really appreciate you coming on today.
Thanks
for
Spence.
having me, guys. I really appreciate it. And God bless your work.
Well, God bless you, and God bless you, brother, as you drive safe out there. Have an amazing weekend, and we will reconvene in a month.
Go Yankees.